Hello, I'm Richard Park from Threepwood Consulting. We're an independent power consultancy. We're based in the UK, and many of the companies we work with are in the business of electricity distribution. Today we're talking about RIIO ED2 and the business plans put together by the 6 distribution network operators in Great Britain. It's a big topic, there's a lot of published material. We're not going to go through it all today. We'd be here until next summer, but lucky for you, my colleague Paul Fidler has been reading these business plans every bedtime since July, and he's digested, and we're going to pick his brains about what he's learned and what he thinks are the most pertinent points from those business plans. So Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background, what's your experience?
Yeah, so good morning. I've been in the industry for just over 30 years in various asset management, operational and regulatory roles. I have a great passion for the outdoors. I enjoy sea kayaking, skiing, climbing, mountaineering, and that passion flows over into my work, which I've got a great desire to help the country reach net zero and the connection of low carbon technologies to the networks that the DNOs are trying to do.
Excellent. Let's get stuck into these business plans, Paul.
Yeah.
Can you tell me briefly what is RIIO ED2 and how do these business plans relate?
Yeah, so DNO submitted their RIIO ED2 business plans in July 2021 and made them publicly available for consultation from various stakeholders. ED2 lasts for the last 5 years, starting in 1st of April 2023, and it will be a critical period in meeting the decarbonisation of the energy system, and also vital for the UK's ambition to meet net zero.
Yeah.
The price controls outline what DNOs must deliver across that 5-year period and how much revenue they can earn. RIIO was devised by Ofgem, a performance-based model, putting stakeholders and customers at the heart of their plans. And RIIO isn't the capital of Brazil in this case, believe it or not. RIIO stands for Revenue Equals Incentives plus Innovation plus Outputs, and helps determine the DNO's return during that 5-year period.
I've had a browse of these plans, Paul, and there's a lot of material to read and digest.
Absolutely. I think first off we should recognise the huge amount of hours and resources that have went into preparing, in planning and engaging stakeholders with each of the DNO plans, and also analysing across the industry. On average, each DNO's business plan is about 200 pages in length, bar one, I should say.
Okay.
In addition, there's a whole load of supporting annexes and engineering justification papers that sit behind those business plans. In total, over the summer period, I've read approximately 2,000 pages across the 6 DNO business plans. Yeah, a lot of work has went into it.
Lord of the Rings, eh?
And plus the Hobbit, I'd say.
We're going to take these business plans in turn, but before we do that, can you give me a summary of maybe the common themes, the big topics that are common across all of them?
Yeah, I would say there's 5 or 6 common themes across all 6 of the business plans. One of the first I would say is network resilience, which is about managing risk and improving network performance, asset replacement, asset management, LV monitoring, etc. Another strong theme that comes out, which is meeting the UK's ambition, is achieving net zero, and that's about how we go about connecting low carbon technologies, for example electric vehicles, heat pumps, which is a great government policy over the next few years. Also part of that is the move to a distribution system operator environment, and that's about moving from a centralised generation network environment to a decentralised environment where we're having far more local generation connected, etc. And that's about creating flexibility and facilitating neutral markets. Another theme which is very popular at the minute, I would say, is the environment. And for the network operators and owners, that's about reducing SF6 emissions,
Right.
reducing leakage from oil-filled cables, and removing oil-filled cables, the removal of assets containing PCBs, and also finally network losses, which affects customers' bills. Another part of that which links into the DSO that I mentioned earlier is data. There's an awful lot more data available to us, to the customer, to the network operators, etc. And how do we use that, and how do we use that to facilitate the DSO environment and also the move to low carbon technologies. And also a final theme, I think, is innovation. How do we embrace innovation? How do we get innovation into business as usual? And how do we promote new ideas in operating the networks?
Very good. Nice summary. So to recap, Paul, you had 6 common themes there. You had network resilience. You had achieving net zero, DSO strategies, environment, data, and innovation.
Correct, yeah.
Were there any major differences across the 6 business plans?
In general, I wouldn't say so. I would say all the DNO business plans are similar and have the common themes as you mentioned. Only thing I would mention is one DNO's business plan was invariably shorter than the others. One thing I would say is that the DNOs are investing comparable to the size of the networks, so the investment may differ between the DNOs, but that relates to the size of their network. So I would say that we're all pretty similar, if I'm honest.
Got all 6 of these business plans in front of me, Paul. Let's have a look at each one in turn, alphabetical order. So Electricity Northwest, business plan 2023 to 2028. Picture of a girl on the front with a circuit and someone helping her. How was this one to read?
Well, I found this one very easy to read. It was well laid out with a useful section on how to actually use the business plan, how to read the business plan. It was split up into the common themes that we've discussed, and the document was clearly describing what they were looking to achieve within each of those areas, themes. I really enjoyed reading that one. It was good to read.
So what were the key points from this, from ENW's business plan, Paul?
Yeah, so Electricity Northwest were looking to propose just over 2 billion during the ED2 period up to 2028. And this is to enable the uptake of electric vehicles.
Right.
Another key message coming from the plan was they were wanting to support economic growth, as the other DNOs, but that came out strongly. They're also looking at the increase of renewable electricity generation, and also going back to network resilience, a key focus was on reducing the number of power cuts and also supporting vulnerable customers. Another theme that came out was their innovation strategy, and their plan was around 3 core challenges. The first being the energy system transition. Another one is around asset management and the environment.
Yeah.
And the final one was around vulnerability and ensuring everyone benefits from innovation and from their plans.
Next up, Paul, Northern Power Grid's business plan. Our business plan for 2023 to 28, a draft for consultation July 21, and a picture of some offshore wind turbines.
Yeah, one of the largest offshore wind farms, I believe, especially within Europe. So nice picture.
How was it to read, though?
How was it to read? A very, very detailed plan supported by a number of annexes. The annexes providing more detailed engineering and financial information supporting the plan, and probably one of the largest plans that I've read.
So what were the key points from NPG's plan, Paul?
Yeah, so Northern Power Grid's plan for ED2 is to invest over $3 billion to support the drive towards net zero. Also, what they did indicate was hopefully creating 1,000 new jobs in the area. Their three headline commitments are around decarbonisation, delivering sustainable decarbonisation through asset resilience. There's that asset resilience theme again.
Yeah.
And again, providing a more reliable network for customers moving forward. Their innovation themes, quite interestingly, they focused on an automated process for connections, providing some savings around that.
Right.
And also, interestingly, dynamic voltage optimization techniques using, again, the network data, smart metering information that's coming through from the networks.
Okay, next, Paul, we've got Scottish Power Energy Networks, our draft RIIO ED2 business plan, enabling the path to net zero from 2023 to 2028, 1st of July 21, a green flight path into a city at night, possibly Glasgow, and reference to the UN Change Conference UK 2021. How was this one to read, Paul?
Yeah, well, before I go into the plan itself, as you say, Glasgow is hosting the COP26 in November of this year, the biggest climate change conference setting the worldwide agenda and policy on decarbonisation. So the plan itself is well laid out and easy to read. I find it easy to navigate around. Again, a useful section on how to use the plan and read it and glean various bits of information that you're looking for. Mention to various annexes, providing more engineering and financial evidence supporting the plan was also provided.
So, Paul, what are the key points from SPEN's business plan?
Yeah, so SPEN are proposing to invest over $3 billion during ED2, and in doing so create around 1,100 new jobs, and more so in the supply chain. Throughout the plan is underpinned by three strategic pillars. One being develop a network that's ready for net zero. Again, there's that common theme. Be a trusted partner for customers, communities and stakeholders, and also ready the business for a digital and sustainable future. So there's that data theme coming in again. They've got a strong business as usual innovation culture driven by their Drive innovation programme. And this is to deliver a smarter and more flexible network, deliver value for their customers and deliver a more sustainable network. And those were the key things for me that was coming out of their plan.
Okay, Paul, next is Scottish and Southern Electricity Networks, powering communities to net zero, our draft business plan for RIIO ED2 2023 to 2028. Picture of a young woman in front of some cars, cars being charged. How was this one to read?
Yeah, again, it was well laid out and I found it easy to read. Very detailed plan supported by a number of annexes and also strategy papers, which they have on their website as well, as do a lot of DNOs. And this one as well was split into the particular themes that we've been discussing previously, so net zero, DSO, network resilience, etc.
So Paul, what were the key points from SSEN's plan?
So Richard, yeah, SSEN are proposing an expenditure of just over $4 billion during ED2, an increase of 36% over ED1. And this is the key themes that were coming out of that sort of expenditure was the rapid acceleration to renewable and distributed energy solutions, supporting, for example, the connection of millions of electric vehicles Also the revolutionary way that homes are going to be heated, possibly via heat pumps, so we need to consider all of that. Again, back to innovation, they're proposing to invest in business as usual innovation, so what proven innovation has worked, or what innovation has worked I should say, in load and non-load areas.
Okay.
And also within the environment, they've produced an environmental action plan as well for business as usual innovation. Also, they are, as all other DNOs are looking at, is the network innovation funding allowance by Ofgem, but they highlighted looking at the energy system transition. Again, there's a DSO environment, and again, consumer vulnerability. Mm-hmm. So again, all those common themes coming out.
Okay, Paul, next we have UK Power Networks, placing customers and communities at the heart of net zero. Picture of a family inside a glowing sphere with some wind turbines.
Yeah.
How was this one to read? What did you find out from this?
UKPN have provided an overview of the business plan to the public, which is in a sense an executive summary of their business plan. That's all they've provided, so it was the shortest one of the plans to read, so therefore quite easy. However, UKPN are looking at a baseline of 4.5 billion comparable to ED1.
Okay.
In addition, and this is one of the things for me, they're forecasting an additional just over 1 billion, 1.1 billion of potential investment, subject to uncertainty mechanisms based on the Climate Change Committee's engagement pathway.
Right.
A headline figure that came out of it as well, they're predicting between 1.6 to 2.7 million electric vehicles being connected to their networks by the end of ED2, and their strategy is to maximise the utilisation of the existing network, deploy energy efficiency, flexibility and market-based solutions. Again, there's that DSO element coming in.
Yeah.
And when exhausted, invest to upgrade the network to meet those challenges.
Okay, Paul, the last of the six, but by no means least, Western Power Distribution, our business plan 2023 to 2028, first submission, July 2021, and a picture of a city scene that looks like New Street train station, Birmingham on the front. How did you find this one to read?
Yes, again, another business plan that is well laid out and easy to read. Enjoyed reading this one. Very detailed plan, also supported by a number of strategy papers that are available for public consumption. Good theme that was coming out, as you would expect from WPD, strong focus on customer service and also a very strong focus on innovation. So yeah, I enjoyed reading this one.
So tell me, Paul, what were some of the key takeaway points from WPD's plan?
Yep, so back to the investment figure, they're looking to invest over 6 billion during ED2, the largest figure so far, again, but that will be relative to the size of their network, and represents an increase of just under 18% over ED1.
Right.
This is primarily driven by an imperative increase in reinforcement to facilitate the move to net zero and the connections of low carbon technologies and also cyber security.
Okay.
Again, I mentioned that one of WPD's core focuses is their innovation programme, and they're looking to deliver projects funded through external mechanisms and also the Network Innovation Allowance. And they also make mention to launching an innovation ideas portal where people can submit their own ideas.
Thanks, Paul. That was a really helpful run through of all six there. You did mention before the plan for these business plans. Can you just recap what the time frames are and what's happening next?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the DNOs submitted their draft business plans in July of this year. and we're currently coming towards the end of a consultation period with all stakeholders. As a result of that consultation period and what they get back, they will then formulate their final business plans, which they'll submit to Ofgem on the 1st of December of this year, 2021. Ofgem will then go away, analyse those and publish their draft determinations in June next year, 2022,
Right.
and their final determinations in December 2022. So some busy times ahead of us.
Paul, there's a lot of activity proposed by these plans. What areas could Threepwood offer support? Let's start by thinking about achieving net zero and data.
Yeah, so to help achieve net zero, which is a huge theme across the plans, Threepwood can help determine, for example, network limits around the use of heat pumps and electric vehicles, for example. How is it affecting strategy, voltages, thermal and power qualities, including harmonics? Particularly around harmonics, where Threepwood are actually assisting in the analysis of one of the UK's first and largest electric bus charging stations, so we're heavily involved in that. Another area that we're looking at is cold load pickup. What's the effect of electric vehicles and heat pumps being connected to the network after an outage? Is that going to affect the performance? We also have to look at network data and analysis, as that's key in all of this. And Threepwood can help customers and network companies to understand what their data requirements are and what the networks are doing and what is required around the use of data.
What particular challenges do you see around that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges around data which is being looked at by the industry and also government. For example, the obtaining, standardising and transferring of data, so transferring data between the ESO and the DNOs stroke DSOs, the transfer of data between customers and the DNOs, how we're going to manage that and how we're going to standardise it. There's various sources of data. For example, you could get data from smart metering, you can get data from the networks themselves, and that's certainly proposed in ED2. We're going to see a lot of low voltage monitoring coming on, so what's going to happen around that. And there's also various customer behavioural studies and data as well. So what are the customers doing that we need to understand there as well? And how do we use these, but also how do we standardise it?
How about Threepwood's support in the area of DSO strategies, Paul?
Yeah, so within the move to the DSO environment, there's the flexibility. So Threepwood can help the network operators analyse, for example, what the flexibility factor is within a street with the connection of low carbon technologies, and therefore ultimately the low voltage circuit is, and help prevent circuit overload, and we can use the likes of demand side response or other tools to alleviate that. We can also help flexibility providers on the other end of the scale, help them understand where the DNO's network constraints are, what services are required, what connection is required to help alleviate those constraints. And I think that's a real area that Threepwood can help those, because I'm not so sure that the flexibility providers know where to go.
And I guess is that the challenge in this sort of area?
Yeah, I do. I think that it probably is a challenge, is that, you know, we could help the flexibility providers and help them understand, as I say, what the network requirements are, where the constraints are. I think is ultimately the first area of understanding. Yeah, I think that is an area that we can help with.
Excellent. And what about Threepwood's support in the area of environment, Paul? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, so a huge area is the reduction of SF6 emissions. So Threepwood has done some work in this area and can assist with studies, work on SF6 leak detection, prevention, leak containment, and also repair, but also ultimately, well, what are the alternatives to SF6 out there? There is the oil-filled cables, and Threepwood are in the process of developing a tracer technology. I know other DNOs have implemented this, but the tracer technology we're looking to implement is very environmentally friendly and contains a DNA specific to either that circuit or item of plant, and we hope to be putting a proposal together for that soon.
Yeah.
And another area is network losses and helping the reduction of technical losses and carrying out the analysis, and also standardisation of network modelling, and also the standardisation of plant and cables that are used within the networks. Yeah.
Any particular challenges you see in this area of environment?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, I think, for me is well, what are the alternatives that we can use as insulating mediums? What are the alternatives to SF6 and oil? And I think any alternative that we find within the industry has to be able to fit within the existing footprints of our substations and networks.
Excellent stuff, Paul. Thank you very much for that whistle-stop tour of the RIIO ED2 business plans. If someone is just itching for more information or wants to go through things again, what could they do?
Yeah, well, since Richard's been waving some papers around, we've produced this summary paper, which will be available soon. And basically the summary paper highlights all the points that we've discussed in this video this afternoon.
Brilliant. That will be available on our website, and we'll also be sharing information about on our LinkedIn profile, so keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, it's thanks from me.
And thanks from me.
Cheerio.
And good night.